This is Twit.
The whole idea of a password is to prove you are who you say you are, right? So you go to your bank and you need to tell them I'm me so I can transfer money. And this is a big issue as authentication, this whole notion of authentication. In fact, anytime we have a transaction, authentication's everything. When you go to a store and use a credit card, they ask for a driver's license. They want to really identify that it's you using it, right? That's the whole issue on money transfers. So cash, when I give you $1, you know it's me, and you don't. That's a real dollar. So we don't have to worry about it. But as we move to a cashless society, we do more electronic stuff, more online stuff. Authentication becomes the big issue. Authentication is simply proving you are who you say you are. Now, there are several ways to do this. You can do it with something you know that only you know. A password's a good example. I've memorized this magic passphrase, and only I know it. And so if I give you the passphrase correctly, it's got to be me. Well, you can see the flaw in this. If, for instance, you use your social security number as a password. They used to do that. Well, unfortunately, you may not be the only one who knows that. Passwords can be leaked, as in this case, accidentally by the other side, right? There are all sorts of problems with passwords, but that's the most common form of authentication. You can make authentication better by using two forms. So there's three total possibilities. There's something you know, like a password, something you have, like your cell phone, and something you are, like biometrics, like a fingerprint. If we mix two different forms of authentication, that makes it more than twice as effective. So that's why initially these happened as dongles. Maybe you've seen these little keychain dongles that VeriSign and others, sometimes your company will give you one. You press a button on it, it gives you a 6-digit number. That's something you have. Now, by itself, it's not better than a password, but the two together are great, right? I have a password and this second factor authentication. It's great. Fingerprint would be good too. A super secure facility, you might do all three: a password, a code card, and biometrics. Measure your hand or your irises or your fingerprint. All three. Now we're really talking secure. And there are facilities that require all three. I think two is good. And there are a couple of ways to do that, something you have. One would be to have a dongle, sometimes it's a credit card, that generates a number. The way this works is actually very simple. You have a secret number, a very long secret number that's yours, you know, and the receiving party knows. In fact, they give it to you. And then they take that secret number and they mush it around with the current time. And as long as your two devices are pretty much in sync within 30 seconds of each other, you're both going to get the same number. So I have this little card. I tell the bank, this is the serial number of the card. Now they know what my secret number is. We both know exactly what time it is. We mush it around and we get a 6-digit number. If my 6-digit number on that card matches the 6-digit number the bank expects, they say, bingo, you're in. Combine that with a password, really good. You may also see my bank, for instance, doesn't do it that way. They send me a text message. Same idea. Actually, they can generate that 6-digit number any way they want. I don't have to know how. I just have to get the text message. But that proves I have my phone. So I had something I know, my password, plus something I have my phone. Those two things together are much more secure. Now, of course, if your password's been compromised, then it's no longer two-factor. It's simply one factor. However, the bad guy still needs your phone or that dongle to get into your bank account. So you don't have to panic. It'd still be worth changing it. In fact, it's not a bad idea to periodically change all your passwords. That's why I think a lot of companies are saying, just change it. We don't know how serious this is. It probably isn't. It's an ugly bug. It's an ugly bug, and it's potentially very serious, but we just don't know. We don't know, how much stuff has been stolen by the bad guys or whether it was useful to them or who was doing it. So it's sensible to err on the side of prudence here. Get a password manager, LastPass. Start generating good long passwords. That's going to improve your security more than anything else. Replace your passwords on your bank, on Amazon, the eBay, e-commerce sites that you use, PayPal. Replace your password on Twitter, Google, Yahoo, Facebook. And then on sites that allow two-factor, turn it on. I know it's a little less convenient, but it's not horrible. Facebook does it, Twitter does it, Tumblr does it, Google does it. Really important that you secure your email, because most websites have an email recovery system, a password recovery system that goes to that email address. So if a bad guy can get into your email, then he or she can just go somewhere and say, I lost my password. Could you send me a new one? And they've got your email, and they go, oh, yeah, thank you. And they can change your password. So very important, probably number one thing to secure is your email. And it's a good idea every few months to change your email password. Because if it does leak out, the bad guy can be getting your email without you knowing. He can just check it whenever he feels like it. Then you'll never know. So change that password anyway. This is an opportunity. Spend a little time this weekend changing the passwords. You don't have to change it on everything, just on the stuff that you need to keep secure. Credit cards, banking, e-commerce. And it probably would be a good idea to keep an eye on your statements from those sites for the next few months. You should be doing that anyway, right? And any unexpected charges you should pay attention to. But honestly, it's not a time to panic. It's just an opportunity to kind of get your passwords in order. Authentication is so important. We don't want to mess around with that. You want to be able to say, I'm me, without in any way there being any risk of somebody else saying they're you successfully. That's really the bottom line. Authentication is about proving you are who you say you are so that you can exchange money and exchange information. And if you don't want other people to have access to your stuff, your money, your information, then make sure you have a good password. And if that site allows it, and every bank should, turn on second factor authentication. And if your bank doesn't, ask them why not. Banks, you know, it's interesting because banks, again, as I said, don't want to talk about this. They never want to talk about security issues. They don't want to scare anybody. But I understand there's been a move towards regulating banks, to telling banks, you got to fix this. You got to fix this, whether you want to admit it or not. This is, by now, everybody who really needs to probably has. This is a good time to change those passwords.